Hey guys, Mount Vernon Kid here, back again. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's well, as always. Finally, gonna finally had time to do this, so finally, as of recording now, I'm here to give my thoughts. Once again, better late than never, but as always, doesn't matter. I know there are a lot of people that want to hear my thoughts on this. All right. So of course we're talking about X-Men Days of Futures Past. Yeah, classic storylines, story arc from Uncanny X-Men 141 to 142 is a two-part story. I think a lot of the younger young bloods think that this story arc was a huge story, like in terms of 8 issues or so. But my generation and previous generation that read it know that no, it was only two, written by Mr. X-Men himself, Chris Claremont, and drawn by Mr. John Byrne. Um, the story depicted a very disoriented future, and Kitty Pryde played a big role in that, as you all know. But once again, they did it live action wise. They did their version, the movie version of it, and once again, I have to gotta agree. As much as I've been saying a long time, as always, but gotta agree with what my bro Guru Globin said. It's like we all should know that these movies are not going to be exactly like the story arcs of the comics, because if there was, then yeah, what's the point of going to watching these? Especially we know the outcome, what's going to happen, so they gotta change it up, and I don't mind that. But still, in this review, you're gonna hear some nitpicks that you're gonna hear. I wouldn't be honest if I didn't nitpick at certain things, but yeah, I'm gonna nitpick at some things that just I thought they would explain it a little better, and then a little bit of trying to erase some continuity, but it just really just came off flatlining in a sense. But uh, overall, as always, my reviews, I always give my overall whatever I think about it. I did love it. I did like it. I loved it. This is probably the best out of the X-Men franchise. Um, and still to this day, I'm gonna say it. I've said it before, and I'm gonna say it again. Mr. Hugh Jackman, I'm gonna miss you as Wolverine. You said it that the next Wolverine movie is your last as the character, and it's gonna be huge, a huge shoe to fill for that role. So yeah, it's gonna be hard to see Mr. Jackman leave, but I'm always giving you your respect, and I'm gonna miss you as that character. But at least we got one more run with the Pharaoh Canuck, and I'll do us proud. So in terms of the movie, I it started off like a really dark and gray room, and you just see the what a possible future would look like, where it almost literally nearly reminded me a little bit of Terminator in a sense, especially in Terminator 2, where we got to see the war going on between machine and human. But instead of this, it's almost like machines and robots have dominated now, and Homo, Homo sapiens and Homo superior are the endangered species. And they played that off very well, in my opinion. I thought that was really well done. And we get to see certain mutants. There will be some minor spoilers, guys, so I'm just gonna let you know. We get to see certain mutants that are like the freedom fighters that are still trying to keep the good fight and hope alive. And those members are uh, basically Professor Xavier, Magneto, Storm, praised by Halle Berry, Wolverine, Kitty Pryde, Bobby, Iceman, Colossus, uh, Blink. Wow, that girl looked great as Blink. I'm forgetting her name right now, but I hear she's gonna be. She has signed a multi-deal contract to reprise her role as Blink. So bring her on. Colossus came back. Rogue was supposed to be there. Sunspot and Bishop. Um, they're like the freedom fighters that are left in that are keeping the Sentinels at bay in the future. Now, explaining why Wolverine was sent back into the future, into the past, excuse me, to 1973 is understandable, especially when they explain why it it couldn't have been someone else, because it would tear them apart, even with a mind great as Professor Xavier's. So I can understand that. I understood why they did that. It was only possible for somebody who can heal rapidly, even though, yes, Wolverine's healing factor is godlike in the movies verse, and now they've incorporated that. Well, he doesn't have it anymore, but they used to incorporate that into the comic verse, but it was understandable. Now, here's one of my first nitpicks of is not explaining how Kitty is able to transcend somebody's mind back into the past. That still, as much as I love Kitty, she's one of my favorite females in Marvel, but still, that just had me like, I still was just like, really? Like, no explanation in that. I mean, it would have been even cooler if they had dropped secondary mutation. Like, that was a secondary mutation she was gradually developing, and she knew how to use kinda well, but never, no kind of explanation for that. So that was like, I was just kind of like, nah, that don't make sense to me. But to have Wolverine go back to his younger self in 1973, and this is where kind of the continuity of the movie kind of really started to, once again, that's another nitpick, especially with the Wolverine stuff, is like, okay, 73, where was he in 73? And, and when did he get, once again, no matter how much we want to say, well, Origins never happened, what was the timeline of Origins? When did he become part of, everything like that? There were just a lot of things that, you really, you're looking at very carefully, and you scratch your head, and you're just like, honestly, you gotta acknowledge that, like, okay, somebody's gonna acknowledge it, somebody's gonna look at it like that. And I did. I kind of looked at it like that. But it was still funny, and what an awkward moment for Wolverine to wake up in his younger body, and then he has to throw down with people, But it was also interesting, once again, is showcasing his bone claws. Yes, he had his bone claws in the past, but once again, see where I'm coming at with where the whole when did he, what year was Origins take place? Things like that. No matter what, it still had some kind of say into it. But it was fun, and it was great. And I did enjoy that, how they were going back and forth, but keeping it based, kind of like, keep it 73-ish, keep more of the past than a possible future. And this X-Men movie, definitely, one thing I also applaud Bryan Singer on, is more story driven, more storytelling than just abundance of action. Just to throw action at there. When it was needed, it was needed. When it was storytelling and just the emotion of the cast and the characters, that was needed, and they did that beautifully. James McAvoy as young Professor Xavier could not have done a better job at a very point in Xavier's life, especially in the movieverse, where he is really down on his luck. He's two shorts of almost literally committing suicide, in a sense, and we saw that. And it was really hard for me, who is a Charles Xavier fan, to see that, whether it's movieverse or comicverse, to see a very shady, very drunken Xavier. It looked like he hadn't shaved in months, and he's just moping around the institute, and it was sad. And to see that, almost in a sense, the only person that is keeping him from pulling that trigger, in a sense, despite all the losses he's had, is Hank McCoy, Beast. And the scene between Hank and Wolverine first meeting, once again, younger Hank, was funny. Even in the, we've seen it in the TV spot in the trailer, but it was still funny. Especially when he punched Hank, and the way Hank fell was just hilarious because he just fell over. And to describe how Beast is able to kind of control, in a sense, his mutation, in a sense, from becoming the blue Beast that we all know, is interesting, and how Professor Xavier is able to walk is also interesting. But I won't spoil that for you. You just have to watch it for yourselves. So that was fun. Jennifer Lawrence, I have gained more respect over the years of her, just over the years, even before her becoming Mystique. But in this movie alone, she really captured more Mystique than ever. Kind of that cold-hearted Raven that is in the comics, and we know that Raven can be cold, and if you screw with her, you're gonna get, you're knocking on shit's door, you know, things like that, death's door. So I really enjoyed her performance, and Mr. Michael Fassbender as Magneto, young Magneto, was very impressive. Still knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. The costume that they had him get into was very more Magneto-ish, so I enjoyed that. It wasn't more like he wore just looked like a suit with a little cape and a helmet. No, it looked very more Magneto-ish, and I appreciated that. The explanation of why he was in that special jail was very intriguing and very much like, wow. And then them explaining that, thinking of the crime that he committed for him to get in there, and then hearing from his point of view of what happened, was like, okay, that's a twist, which I'm gonna spoil this for you guys. It was said that he was talking to Xavier. He's telling Xavier that basically he didn't kill the president, talking about JFK, John F. Kennedy.
He was basically saying that he tried to stop the assassination that Lee Harvey Oswald basically committed. It was basically he tried to curve the bullet. He was curving it, but it still hit Mr. Kennedy. Now here's the explanation of why he did it, which actually kind of made me like, okay, you know what? Maybe I can accept that. That was interesting. The reason why is because in this universe, JFK was a mutant. And I was like, that kind of threw me. I was like, whoa, okay, I can accept that. So I enjoyed that twist. I was like, all right. And you could probably see why Magneto, someone like Magneto, would do that for a fellow mutant. Now, they don't explain what JFK's mutant power was, but it's hinted that he was a mutant, so I enjoyed that. This was one question that was asked me on Twitter, that somebody asked me, how did I feel about Bolivar Trask being played by an actor who is, first of all, I didn't care about that, and I never have. An actor's an actor, okay? I don't care about the actor. I'm not remembering the actor right off the top of my head, his name, but he is short in stature, and I don't care. You know, he's on Game of Thrones, but he played the role of Bolivar Trask very well, and I appreciate it. I honestly loved his performance as Trask, excuse me. And I didn't care about that. So anybody who does care about that, get out of here with that, because you shouldn't care about that. He's just a very talented actor, and he did a hell of a performance in it. Now, in terms of the who else I want to talk about? In terms of Quicksilver in this, gotta say, what everybody was telling me, Quicksilver's parts were entertaining. It had you laughing, and it made you believe, like, okay, this is how Quicksilver sees things when he's running at supersonic speeds. Did they call him Quicksilver? No. He's not even called Pietro. He's called Peter.
But I did love the scene where his mom came to the door and saw Wolverine, Hank, and Professor Xavier, and it's just so funny. Is like his mom's just like, "What did he do now?" He's like, "What do you need to talk? No, we just need to talk to him." It was just so funny, and you seeing everything him down in his little like basement room, and he's just all this stuff he's got acquired, and I thought it was so fun. It was just like it's so fun to see, and now I'm looking more forward to seeing how Mr. Johnson is gonna perform as the Quicksilver of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So in a sense, it's gonna be kind of cool to see that. And besides, they were friends in Kick-Ass and things like that. So, but it was so fun to see that scene, and there was hint of his maybe being related to another certain mutant, so it was interesting as well. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. I love the scene where he was just moving stuff, and another spoiler. Here's another spoiler, minor spoiler. He literally had a guard punch himself. Literally. It was so funny. He runs around and he's just running around and he's moving things out of the way and taking a little sip of soup or so. That was because it was in like a kitchen area, and next you know he's moving things. He's just and it was just so funny. I was like, yeah, that's something kind of Quicksilver would do. But it was fun. For the scene he was in, it was worth it. So I enjoyed that very much. So in terms of what happened to a lot of the actors, out of the other students that were in First Class, we get to see what happened to them, and it's brutal, and it's really hard to watch at times. Like, oh man, and it is in part of Trask. It's what he's been doing. So you get to see what happened to all those, Angel, Salvador, Banshee, Azel, oh they say Azizel, whatever, people like that. We get to see what happened to Havoc. He is in Vietnam. We get to see a younger Toad, very much better looking Toad, with all due respect to Mr. Ray Parks, but I thought this Toad looked well more like, okay, that's a little bit how I want Toad to look like, not kind of grotesque and green looking and things like that. We got to see ink in this movie, which was really surprising, but I enjoyed it. So that was fun as well. But let's talk about the Sentinels in retrospect. The Sentinel designs, whether it was 1973 Sentinels or the future Sentinels, they both look good, I must say. But I must say you can see Bryan Singer was paying a little bit more homage to the 73 Sentinels with how they looked in the current look, with the blue, the purplish, maroon colors, Sentinel on lock. It would have been so cool. I would have geeked out even more if you heard them kind of speaking like that robotic talk, but whatever, it was cool. Now the Sentinels in the future seem to be able to adapt to any mutant power. Right there gave me a little bit, they acted more like the Super Adaptoid, and I was okay with that, but they seemed like way too powerful, and I must say, and it just seemed like, alright, wow, okay, they're really powerful. Now, like I said, the fighting was there, but the character development and the storytelling is really drove this in terms of you have a choice. That was kind of the main focus of this movie, was like you have a choice. There's a choice, and the choices you make could almost serve as the consequences of a possible future. And they played that up brilliantly, in my opinion. Bryan Singer played that up brilliantly, to the point of it made you really, really focus and understand the characters, between whether it was Raven, Mystique, and Charles Xavier, to Magneto or Wolverine, doesn't matter. It played a big factor. The final scenes, especially back in the future, where we saw basically they needed to buy Wolverine some more time. because at one point, here's another spoiler, and this is where another nitpick where it comes from, is where Wolverine sees a person that is going to cause him a lot of pain in his Stryker. Now, once again, that's where the continuity kind of goes off with me. It's like, okay, Stryker's here. Like, okay, once again, where does this take place? Okay, where does he meet? You know, when does he meet Stryker in the movie? Because we saw he met Stryker somewhere in Vietnam. You know, Wolverine 73. He's not. You see where it kind of. You see where, and he never met him yet. So it's like, okay, that's where the continuity stuff starts to really jumble a lot, and I start to really like scratch my head at. But still, that point of view right there, Wolverine starts to go out of control, and he literally, at one point, injure a certain person in the future, and then still, the people have to buy them some time, and you start to see some horrible deaths, and it was so horrible to see. I mean, every mutant you can think of that was in the future literally dies. And they were brutal and gruesome. The way they got Bishop, the way they got Sunspot, my God, it was so horrible. It's like, oh my God. But one thing I also got to nitpick at, and this is just me as being a fan of the character and just me kind of being an advocate of characters of this certain nationality. To me, Warpath did nothing in this movie, and that really ticked me off a lot. I was like, what you put him in the movie if you weren't going to do anything with him? Even just a smidge, just give me a smidget of what James Prowlstar is, but you don't do anything. And that broke my heart. That broke my heart. I was like, oh, what the hell? Like, why was he in it? You could have just put just an unnamed mutant there. You know, you didn't have to put him in it if you weren't going to do anything with the character. It just broke my heart. It's just like, you know. But the series, it was good, but there were nitpicks and some errors that you have to really kind of address and look at and be like, you know, that kind of But what Bryan Singer did with his direction he did what he was given, and it was good, and I enjoyed it. I was very much enjoyed the movie. I was entertained. The story was there. The drama was there. When it was needed action, I enjoyed it. You know, and things like that. So I enjoyed what was given to me. I've started to come to this conclusion now, very quickly now. When they take these stories that are based off famous arcs in comics, people, you gotta realize now that they're not gonna go directly with the storylines, and you gotta put that inner geek behind you, and you gotta know when to subside that and be like, you know what, it's the movie verse, it's not the comic verse. It's the movie verse, not comic verse. So you gotta separate the two. That's what I do, especially with these comic movies. I do that. I know they're gonna give little of what's, you know, nits of the comics, but not fully. What I also want to appreciate is them putting Mr. Chris Claremont in the movie. He was in the movie, which was really cool. Mr. X-Men himself cameoed in the movie, so it was great to see that. But what Mystique does to Magneto, my God, it was like, not gonna spoil what she did, but it was like, ooh. But the ending wise, in terms of what happens, the ending to me, kind of in a sense, was fun to see, especially with certain characters making cameos in it. For example, Mrs. Jenkins back as Jansen, back as Jean. It's great to see her back. You know, and she was wearing red, and you know, I've heard that was she Phoenix there. She just looks good in red. Just let her be in red. It was good to see Mr. Marston come back as Cyclops and things like that. I believe that was Kelsey Grammer as Beast. But then it's once again, it's like, okay, continuity. Okay, once again, but it was good to see everybody. But does that make it seem that basically everything was told again? Now, and then of course the post-credit scene of a certain character making his debut. All I can say is for that, it's about damn time. It's time. It's time for us X-Men fans to see villains besides Magneto. And yeah, they did a horrible job with, Sebastian Shaw. But still, it's time to see somebody who we've been wanting. And so it was good. But other than that, besides that, now here's a little bit of something that I wanted to talk about. Other than that, I enjoyed the movie. The movie tripled its budget. The budget of the movie was 200 mil. Tripled that at the box office. So once again, it made back the money it took to make the movie, which is always a good thing for me. It was a success. Now, there's rumors that I've heard that they are going to be recasting for Storm, Cyclops, and Jean. And I think some other people, but definitely Storm, Cyclops, and Jean. And this is, I wouldn't be honest if I didn't say this, but if they're going to recast Storm, I'll start with Storm. Good. To me, I never, ever saw Miss Halle Berry, as talented as she is, as Miss Aurora Monroe. Never saw her as Storm. Never saw her as Storm. She just was too timid to me as Storm. And I looked at her as like, when I see Storm, I see a strong, intelligent woman. Fierce as well. She walks into a room, all eyes are on her now. She has a presence. When I saw Miss Berry walk into a room as Storm, I didn't see anything. I was just like, no eyes, it's just a little timid. It was like, that's not Storm. So if they're going to recast Storm, great. And I got 3 actresses off the top of my head that I can think of that could play a very believable Storm. Now, if you want to know who those actors are, I'll tell you. But one of them, of course, is the actress who plays Michonne. Definitely. The Miss, oh my God, I'm forgetting her name right now. But she played in the last she played in Skyfall, and she was also the Voodoo Prince, the Voodoo Queen in the Pirates of the Caribbean. Those are 2. The other, you just asked me, I'll tell you. But and if they're gonna recast Cyclops, okay, Jean, I kind of have a little problem with, because I thought FJ, that's all I'm just call her FJ. She was great as Jean. I loved her as Jean. I was like, she had everything I wanted from Jean. But if they can find someone else to play her, okay. But I'm looking forward to seeing the next installment of this X-Men sequel, because X-Men Apocalypse is a sequel to Days of Future Past. So I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with this, and just seeing Unsubano come to life and things like that. But besides the nitpicks and the continuity errors that I looked at and I saw, it was a good movie. I enjoyed it very much. It was just the storytelling that really was there for me, and I enjoyed it a whole lot. But there were some things in there I just know I missed, but friends told me, and I was just, oh wow, I missed that. I should have seen that. But there was like a friend told me there's something on there about Cable and Mr. Sinister, so I was like, okay, I missed that. So I just was like, really? I must have missed that. But it is what it is. Another X-Men movie down. I'll be looking forward to purchasing this and adding it to my collection. Uh, if you have not seen it, check it out. It's worth it. In my opinion, this is just my opinion. Opinions will vary, but in my opinion, it's well worth it. Go see it. Uh, Tell me what you thought about the movie. Uh, did you like it? Did you hate it? I've gotten some feedback from some people saying they hated it. Not gonna say the names. I'm not gonna put them out there, but I've heard some people say it was bad, didn't like, they hated it. But Bristol Bryan Singer did the best he could with what he was given. And time travel is not easy. It's not an easy subject to write, even screenplay. So, they tried to make up for X3, but they started, it's a lot of things. But I'm hoping to see certain mutants come into the next. First of all, I'm hoping to see, here's some people. Hoping to see Nightcrawler back. Hoping to see a well-deserved better Psylocke. Love me some Betsy. Maybe Angel be back. Maybe Angel in his as Archangel would be really badass. Let's see, Rogue. If they're gonna recast Rogue, so be it. Okay, there's another one. Cause you know me and Rogue. There's so many mutants I can go on at the top. Maybe Domino and Polaris. Maybe put Havoc back in there. I would love to see Havoc back in there, but an older Havoc. Siren, Siren. Maybe even M, Monette St. Croix. Oh God, Multiple Man again. Oh, I go off. I'll just keep going by, guys. But other than that, the movie was good. I enjoyed it. You guys tell me what you thought about it. Once again, it's just me being honest, guys. What it is. But this is Mount Vernon Kid saying peace. One love. Stay tuned. Get real. Thank you for watching another movie review with a kid. You'll definitely see some more. I got a few more on my list to watch, and I'll definitely give a review on it, despite if they're late or not. But as always, the movie reviews will be coming, whether it's old movies or movies that are just coming out that I feel like I want to review. You guys take it easy. As always, my saying, peace and love. Stay tuned to the real, guys. Thank you, and see you around.